Recognise the member for Esquimalt Chosen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. More than half of all women in BC have experienced physical or sexual violence since the age of 16. That's more than 1 million women in our province. Every year in BC, there are more than 60,000 physical or sexual assaults against women. That's more than 1,000 every week on average, and almost all of them are committed by men. Domestic violence in our society costs us in so many ways. The effects of domestic violence rip through the social fabric of our communities. Domestic violence adds significant additional burden to our healthcare and our criminal justice system. The health costs of domestic violence are so significant, individually and socially. Many women are affected by physical injuries caused by violence. They're at much greater risk of mental health issues brought by depression, anxiety, suicidal inclination, PTSD, substance abuse, and low self-esteem, among others. Then there are the economic costs to society in lost wages, lost time on the job, lost time to families, lost opportunities, lost potential. Domestic violence can interfere directly with women's ability to work. It ultimately impacts their career path and overall economic outcomes. Indeed, being in employment is a risk factor associated with a greater likelihood of women experiencing domestic violence. That is, women who work are more likely to be abused in this way. Domestic violence directly impacts the ability of women to perform effectively in the workplace, like when an abuser attempts to contact, or stalk, or harass, or threaten, or injure a woman at work. Then there are other more indirect impacts such as absenteeism and inability to function optimally due to the stress as well as the injuries of living with domestic violence. Studies have shown that women not only lose paid work time, they also lose their jobs due to the impact of living with domestic violence. And domestic violence affects women's long-term career paths. They're less likely to take up training opportunities, and they're at a disadvantage for career promotion opportunities. They don't achieve the success that they could at work, and so in the longer term, they don't achieve their potential. As a result, women living with domestic violence are left further impoverished, with lower social status and fewer opportunities. Women living with domestic violence have greater incidence of homelessness and housing-related issues. So this is a social and an economic problem for our society. It will take all of us in this place, in our towns, in our cities, in our rural communities, in our province, and in our country to be agents of change. We must build systemic solutions to create the changes and the supports for women to be able to reach their full potential in society. We are making progress, and we have much to do. My predecessor in this chamber, the former member for Esquimalt Royal Roads, introduced a bill that would have protected women's employment rights when leaving situations of domestic violence. Women would be able to take paid and unpaid leave without penalty to be able to address immediate needs of safety, moving, childcare, school support, etc., etc. As my predecessor said, quote, "No woman should have to be in a position where she faces further abuse or threats to her life simply because she cannot get the day off from work in order to move herself and her family to safety." Thank you, Madam Speaker.